Well, hello YouTube, it's me, Fortmaster, and welcome to a new reaction. This is The Unexpected Horror in a Cute Game by Kaletheleaf. And this was suggested in my Discord server by Nat Tannerall. And judging by the thumbnail, I remember this game. I remember when Game Theory was talking about it a lot. It was, I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but basically it was a VR game that was based off of, Duck Hunt, where, you take the gun, you shoot the ducks, then you have, like, the guy in the dog suit come out of the grass to hold the duck, that sort of stuff. And then, a lot of weird stuff can happen, like the dog suit man coming out of your TV and murdering your mother, and him being chased by the cops in a helicopter and getting shot. It was very weird. Honestly, I remember those live streams, and they were really fun. But yeah, just God, what was I trying to think back to the old theories? I remember, I think Matt Pat suggested that the guy in the dog suit was the kid's father or something like that. I honestly can't remember. It has been literal years. And again, I don't even remember what the name of the game is, so I can't look it up. Obviously that will be, hopefully, helped by me actually watching the video. So, let's actually get into this. So, yeah, of course, as always, original video is linked in the description. If you haven't seen it for some reason, Gooner video will lead to my Let's Play of the day. And if you like this video or any other video that I make, I'd very much appreciate it if you gave the video a like and subscribe to my channel, because my main goal for this year is to hopefully hit 5,000 subscribers, and at the current rate I'm going, that is totally doable because I am so close. And honestly, it is all thanks to every single one of you that thinks my channel is worth subscribing to. Yeah, but with all that out of the way, let's get this thing started then, shall we?
Imagine booting up your VR headset to play the new hit game Duck Season.
Duck Season, that was it, okay.
Seemingly a clone of the 1984 game Duck Hunt, where you shoot ducks while a cute dog motivates you. You play through the game, shooting ducks and having fun, when all of a sudden...
your mom dies. Oh god, yeah.
Secret horror is a growing genre of horror games where the game appears on the surface to be completely normal, and even a comforting game, before unexpectedly shifting into a horror game. Sometimes the game chooses to drop subtle hints that something is wrong before immediately taking a 180. Other times the game will slowly migrate into a spooky atmosphere. When done correctly, secret horror manages to create a game that can scare the life out of an unsuspecting player, I can't do this, and simultaneously still manage to scare even a player that knows what's coming. But what about when it's done incorrectly? This is my favorite game ever made. Can Your Pet consists of 5 minutes of gameplay where you take care of your pet chicken before the game randomly throws the chicken through a saw where it gets cut into bits. Riveting, and also boring.
Oh god, I remember this. Yeah, this was one of those shock games. Wasn't this game made by PETA, or was I thinking of something else?
Sure, Markiplier might have a conniption.
No! Oh! Oh no!
But if you know what's coming, it's immediately no longer scary. And I know. I'm comparing a 5-minute flash game that probably took an hour to make to games created by well-known developers. But it highlights a very big problem with horror as a whole. This is Lunk. Let's say your main goal is to hurt Lunk as much as you can. What's easier, elaborately targeting all of Lunk's insecurities and fears in order to damage him for the rest of his life? Or kicking him in the balls? The latter is probably easier. The problem with that, though, is that not only will it not haunt Lunk for the rest of his life, but it will also make everyone dislike you because you took a cheap shot on him. So is the case with horror. Randomly throwing a cheap jump scare or shocking content at the viewer is a very easy and shallow method of horror. The more difficult route would be to take time and planning to engineer a well thought out scare that builds up throughout the story. But...
God, Scroll Stapler, that was one of those games, like... I've seen a couple people play it, and every time, mostly it was, I just watched Markiplier play it, but again, just so weird.
Why would you do that when you can use all 3 of your neurons to import a metal pipe sound effect and the top Google search result for scary monster? And that brings me to Duck Season. Released in 2017 by Stress Level Zero, the game Duck Season made a lot of sense. One of the first things game devs did when the NES Zapper was released was make Duck Hunt, a game about shooting ducks. The NES Zapper being a revolutionary gaming controller that was able to immerse you even further into the game. So,
which, again, if you don't know, I remember I've watched, videos on how it actually worked. And Grant, you could see it a bit there in the gameplay, but for like a single frame, the screen would just turn black with just a white square, and the end of the zap gun is actually a camera. And if you were pointing at the white spot on the screen, the camera would register that it was white and say that you shot it. And apparently there was a really funny way you could cheat the game by just pointing the gun at a white light and pulling the trigger. Oh god, old games were magical.
So, when virtual reality became popular, something that could completely immerse you in the game,
I am very much in danger!
It was pretty understandable why a Duck Hunt clone would hit the market.
Video.
The game opens and you find yourself in a living room. An instructional video plays telling you how to play the game and offers some very sound advice.
And remember, the first rule of gun safety is have fun.
While we can hear the player character, David's mom in the kitchen behind us. And we are ready to kill some ducks. The gameplay is about what you would expect. Shooting ducks. Some levels have different mini-games like Fat Duck or Duck Sanity, but it's pretty much just shooting ducks. After every level, you return to your living room to see the real world for a minute before diving back in. Things around you will change every time you return. Different commercials or news reports will play. On one occasion, you even find yourself in this weird LSD trip thingy where you have to shoot yourself with the zapper in order to wake up. Weird. You play through the game, being best friends with this cute little doggy, and then the game ends with a nice fiesta while the end credits play. But let's be honest with ourselves. There's one aspect to that playthrough that simply isn't realistic. You're gonna shoot the dog. Whoa now! No need to get angry, it's okay. Nobody blames you. The mom in the game even hints at this if you play through without shooting the dog.
But you know, I would have shot that annoying dog.
So then, let's shoot the dog.
That's when things start
I really
going dark,
hope something
yeah.
spooky doesn't happen. Okay, not really spooky. Ominous, but that's about it. You can shoot the dog as many times as you'd like, but nothing of note really happens until you find yourself in the weird dream again. And after waking up, you hear the mom say the simple line,
Honey, have you seen the knife?
It's that time, I'm gonna say it. Hearing this line seriously makes me brown my britches. And it's an amazing horror method, because somehow this game full of duck hunting, bright, happy visuals, and fun music can manage to create such a powerful scare with 6 words said in the background. How did they do this? By doing the exact opposite of what most horror games do.
Iron Lung, yeah.
The game Iron Lung is widely regarded as among the scariest of modern horror titles. But what makes it so scary? Surely it's not the riveting gameplay mechanics, and the biggest scare of the game doesn't come until right at the end, so...
Yeah, with Iron Lung, and again, you have to say it's a good horror game because, you know, Markiplier's making an entire movie based off of it. With Iron Lung, most of its fear is literally just from the tension. From, like, the anticipation. Because, again, you're in a submarine that you can't see the outside of until you flash a camera, and you have to wait for, like, you know, the picture to actually develop. So there's always that looming dread of not knowing exactly where you are until you've played the game a couple of times. With that, again, it's the whole thing that, like, even if the one and only, you know, actual fatal jump scare doesn't happen until the literal end of the game, it's always just, it could happen at any time. You just don't know it. And also, you know, there's the existential dread of being welded into a submarine in the bottom of an ocean of blood in a universe where all the stars and livable planets have disappeared. So, yeah, that also adds another few layers to it.
How is Iron Lung so scary throughout the entirety of the playthrough? Well, it really comes down to one simple thing. The environment. The environment of Iron Lung is absolutely horrifying. Now, I know I'm not the first person to talk about Iron Lung. In fact, it feels like I'm the only person who hasn't at this point, but that ubiquity is well deserved. The environment of Iron Lung is among the most terrifying in any game ever. With the combination of claustrophobic gameplay, a horrifying soundscape, and a grim plot, Iron Lung creates a setting that promotes reactions like this to literally nothing. And it's all a build-up to the ultimate jump scare at the end. And I can't believe I'm gonna say this, but I like this jump scare. I know, it's baffling. I saw a jump scare and I'm not kicking and screaming like a 9-year-old going through prime withdrawals. But the reason it works is because the entire 1 hour of gameplay leading up to this didn't have a single jump scare. The jump scare was well earned because the whole game leading up to this had rising tension built solely off the beautifully crafted environment.
What did I say before? It was the anticipation. You have to like the video if you get that reference.
I mean, the whole premise is that you're inside a rickety, unstable submarine submerged puckeringly deep into an unknown ocean of blood. Not exactly inviting, or comfortable. The entire environment is built around stressing you out. But why am I talking about this? I mean, these are the two environments I'm talking about. Not
Very
exactly
different, yeah.
comparable. Instead of trying to make a super scary environment to create tension, in Duck Season, the environment is relaxed. Instead of putting you on high alert to make small details scary, the game makes you comfortable before throwing a small detail at you that you can't ignore. Where did the knife go? We keep playing through the game normally. While playing, you can discover that you can actually look behind you and see David in his living room as a mirror image of your own movements. I'm sure that won't be important later. After one of the rounds, we get whatever this is.
Remember the night we danced in the moonlight? You remember the way that it was so cold and it was so funny?
And then things start to get really weird. After round 7, we're
Commercials, I
placed
completely
back in the
forgot
living
about
room
them.
to see David on the TV, on a live feed. It's about this time that someone who may have picked up the game unaware of its horror element is likely starting to get pretty freaked out. It's becoming clear that there is something seriously weird about this dog. See, while you're actually playing Duck
You mean, like, the reason, like, you know, besides the fact that, you know, it appears in real life?
Season, it's easy to notice that the dog doesn't really fit. I mean, all the ducks are cartoonish, it's a cartridge game, and the environment isn't exactly the pinnacle of realism, so why is it that this dog is so human? I might even go full creepypasta and say he's hyper-realistic. I mean, his appearance clearly resembles a costume of some kind. A costume which, by the way, is covered in stains. And every time you load into the game world, you can see the dog turned away before noticing you and seemingly stomping out a cigarette. It's clear that this dog isn't just a part of the game, it's almost like he's sentient. Who do I think I am? He is definitely sentient. And not only that, but also...
Who do I think I am?
Creepy as shit.
Why, you may ask? Just kidding, you're not asking that. You already know, because there is an infinite amount of videos talking about it. The only modern horror element more ubiquitous
Analog
than
horror,
spaces,
yep.
Uncanny Valley. For those of you who just got back from a 10-year hiatus from the internet, Uncanny Valley is a phenomenon where you'll feel a sense of unease or fear from something that appears to have human characteristics, but has something distinctly wrong with it. Look at this image. Normal, right? Now look at this one. You can't quite put your finger on it, but there is definitely something wrong here.
Well, no, I can definitely put my finger on it. I mean, for one, her eyes seemingly are just either completely black voids, or she has pupils that are the entire size of her of her open eye. Because like you might be able to see like a little bit of white there, and either way, that's not normal. And also, the smile just seems. Is that actually, no, the smile does seem, you know, that's a realistically sized smile. It's with the combination of the eyes, it looks unsettling.
Uncanny Valley can be experienced in a variety of ways. There's the more overt examples where something is very clearly not human, but appears to have some attempt at humanity. And then there's times where it's harder to decipher. But the really interesting examples don't come from a non-human trying to appear human, but rather a human trying to appear non-human. Take a good look at this dog. Creepy,
Absolutely
right?
adorable.
Well, it shouldn't be, actually. It's just a regular dog. But take a look at this dog. There is something very not right about it.
Oh,
and that's because this is Toko the human dog. So not actually a dog. It's just...
Oh god, wait, is that one of those? I think I've seen this before. Isn't that one of those, like, weird, like, is that from, like, one of those weird Japanese commercials? Like, oh god, why is Japan so weird?
just a guy in a dog costume. But because you can tell that there's something off about it, it's kinda creepy. I bet this guy looks pretty creepy, huh?
Oh,
How about
God.
this? Or this? And here's one you'll recognize. This fella here is one of the OG Uncanny Valley characters. Along with Uncanny Valley, he also shares an interesting descriptor with our old dog friend, and that is mascot horror. Mascot horror is when you take a mascot that seems friendly or child-oriented and twist them into a horror character. This was popularized by Five Nights at Freddy's, although it's everywhere now, with massive games like Poppy Playtime or Garten of Banban, or even the titan of its time, Tattletale. There's also the less known examples like Kinetopet, where a character similar to Clippy or Bonsai turns evil and takes over your computer. Our friend Mr. Dogman is a great depiction of both mascot horror and Uncanny Valley, and because it's obvious he doesn't belong in the setting he's in, when something creepy happens, he's our first suspect. But seeing him outside of the game just amplifies the horror.
Yeah, again, seeing a video game character outside your house in real life, or hopefully in real life, yeah, that's gonna leave a few scars.
We're expecting the dog to do something weird, you'd expect it to be in the game. So when you catch a quick glimpse of him with the camera, things really change, and you start to feel paranoid that he's still around somewhere. Moving into level 8, everything is normal, but after a while, things become strange. The fun, jovial music stops, the dog is nowhere to be seen, and the level counter just keeps going up. This is where things go from weird
He's right
to
behind
terrifying.
me, isn't he?
The TV plays a distorted version of the Lone Wolf commercial, and turning around, we see David's mom.
Dead.
The dog killed her. Turning back to the TV, we see the duck season menu once more, with the dog telling us to come face him. And I am fired up about what happened to Mama here. So let's go get him.
God, watching this video, because again, like, duck season, when did it come out? Like, I remember that, like, it came out a while ago. Yeah, so 2017 came out a fair number of years ago. And even still, like, the whole concept is just so creepy. But just watching this is bringing back so many memories of me watching other YouTubers play it, like, when it was still new.
Upon loading in, we see the same world as before, but now it looks, well, I mean, look at it.
Now it has realistic blood coming out of its eyes.
We get the instruction to not let the TV break, and then we are plunged into a furious battle, where, at the end, the dog becomes huge and starts shooting lasers out of his eyes at the TV. We successfully defeat him and are returned to the real world, where the dog approaches us with a knife. We fight as hard as we can, but end up succumbing to his might to achieve the dead ending.
God, I completely forgot that he looks at you when you're trapped in the ceiling. So, like, whatever this thing is, it can see your soul or whatever it is.
Alright, there's a pretty big elephant in the room, and it's that this seems pretty lame. I mean, I'm supposed to be talking about an excellent example of horror, and the scariest part of the game involves fireballs and big red lasers coming out of the villain's eyes. Not exactly innovative. And you're probably thinking that it's not exactly all that scary, but you're looking at it the wrong way. Literally, you're perceiving it incorrectly. Watching this unfold on a simple screen isn't too spooky, but remember, this is a VR game. And you probably think that it doesn't make much of a difference. I know I certainly thought that. But let me assure you, watching this unfold as if it were really happening in front of you is so indescribably scary.
I will confirm on that, because, like, I don't have a lot of experience with VR. I remember a couple years ago, they were doing, like, a demo for, like, PlayStation 4 VR at the mall, and I got the chance to try it out there, me and my brother, while we were walking around. And me and my brother got it for Christmas, I don't know how many years ago now, but it's like this, it's an Oculus type headset, but it's like one that you're supposed to hook up to your phone, and that's pretty much all it can hit. You can't play it on your computer or anything. And even, like, I only actually ever used that once, but it was ironically, like, even just a little bit I did play back then, like, it was a game where you're, like, flying through. And even then, when I was, like, sitting in my chair doing it, and actually seeing it, like, it was really immersive. It was really fun. It just got boring really quickly, because, again, it relied purely on my phone.
It's not the same as seeing a creepy image and getting spooked. Seeing the dog coming at you with a knife genuinely makes you fear that knife as if it were a real object.
Especially when, you're in the body of a literal 10-year-old, and you have this, this giant dog suit man that's, basically 2 to 3 feet taller than you.
It's just human instinct. While playing the game, it's easy to forget that you're playing a game. The gameplay is very monotonous. You shoot ducks and reload over and over and over. This kind of gameplay makes it very easy to forget that you're in a game. Seeing the dog come out of the lake at the end seems boring when looking at it in 2D, but when you can see the dog towering over you as if it were truly that large, it amplifies the horror exponentially, even when you already know what's coming. While recording gameplay for this video, there wasn't a single time I wasn't shitting bricks when that dog would show up in the house. But there's still 5 other endings, so let's go over them. In the nuke ending, we wait until we can find a golden shotgun shell. If we load it in and shoot it at the sun, the world gets nuked.
The wrath of God upon the earth.
We then see David running around in an empty white abyss shouting the names of people who worked on the game.
We're ready!
I wonder if he'll find Eggman around here somewhere.
What time is it? There is no time here!
But right at the end, as David gives up, we can see the dog moving towards David to...
Hello, how are you?
If you wait until you see the dog outside with the camcorder and you pick up the phone,
911, what's your emergency?
There's a dog trying to kill me, he's recording me. Help.
We interrupt your regularly scheduled programming.
This was the ending I was talking about with the helicopter.
Closing in on a suspect related to the disappearance of several local families. We're told this person is armed and dangerous. Let's take you overhead now, live to the scene in our Sky 6 helicopter. It appears we have some kind of bipedal animal running through a neighborhood, some kind of a beast. He's rounding about through a home, right through their backyard, turning a corner, and we want.
the next end.
God, I thought I remembered it just being a single shot. I didn't remember them unloading like several magazines worth of rounds into them. Oh God.
The next.
Is he dead?
Okay. The next ending, Stuck Forever, happens if you lose the fight to the dog while in the game.
Whoops.
The dog enters David's home and traps you in the game forever. The sun rises on another day in duck season, and you turn around to see another kid playing the game.
Huh? Who are you?
Now it's time for the canon ending. The canon ending is achieved by defeating the dog in the game world and in the real world by shooting him with the zapper, which can apparently shoot lightning, like Palpatine. David...
Well, I mean, again, the whole thing is this is a video game character that's come into the real world, so you'd think you'd have to kind of do some weird stuff going on there.
Mourns the loss of his mother and calls 911 before taking a step back and realizing that no one is going to believe that a video game dog killed his mother. So instead of calling authorities, he lazily buries her body and goes on the run. But there's one more ending that I haven't told you about. After getting all 6 of these endings, if you play through the game one more time without shooting the dog, the Fiesta ending will begin. However, something goes wrong.
Something's different. Where's Final Fiesta? What's this?
God, I don't remember this one.
On a dog bed in the living room, we can find a tape titled, "It's Me."
Toss it. Dog ending.
It was you the whole time? You want me to help? Okay.
Okay, let's be real for a second.
Yeah, okay, that's not the canon ending. That's an homage to, what was it? I think it's like Resident Evil or something like that.
Second. This game is insane. When it comes to horror games, it's not unheard of for them to have some odd elements. In fact, it tends to be common. But this game is a different kind of weird. Odd implications, freaky-ass dreams, a video game dog coming into the real world and murdering a random woman. At every turn, there's a new question. At first, MatPat theorized that the dog is actually David's dad.
The dog is absolutely your father.
God, okay, literally, that's the thing. I remembered that. Jeez.
Bad dad trapped inside of a video game. Why would he then go on to kill you?
The devs confirmed this theory to be false. However, the evidence of that connection is astounding. The pictures on the wall include David's dad, although he's nowhere to be seen. This particular photograph even shows him playing on a baseball team with a dog mascot. Magazines can be found implying that the mother has gone through a divorce, and perhaps the most damning, this clip literally saying, "You are my baby." However, the dog is confirmed to have had other victims, such as the families mentioned in the news broadcast,
Asking for the public's help in solving the mystery behind the disappearance of several families from the Tri-County area.
and in this tape where... I'll just play the tape.
God.
MatPat, in his unbridled rage of getting something wrong, created a new theory that involves the other games the devs have made, Boneworks and Bone Lab. This theory suggests that Arthur Ford, the player character in Boneworks, is actually David in the future, and that David changed his name to Arthur while on the run, before eventually becoming the dog and killing his past self in order to prevent the apocalypse. This theory would explain the whole "you are my baby" thing by suggesting that the translation instead is "you are me as a baby." Now, I don't get into all that complicated.
God, okay, God, honestly, just as a side effect, I know, like, if you've watched my channel for a while, I watch, game theory and film theory reactions basically every week, just because I like the tradition, I like consistency. But it's stuff like that reminds you just how many videos game theory and the other channels have actually put out, because I do not remember that second one in the slightest.
Shit. And also, one of the devs confirmed that the cradle motion was actually meant to be a friendly hug. The idea that David is Arthur Ford from Boneworks immediately falls apart when you look at the difference in hair and eye color. MatPat suggests that David altered these colors intentionally in order to change his identity. But do you really want me to believe that he's been wearing differently colored contacts and dyeing his hair in order to fit a different description? We're assuming an 11-year-old child is going to be able to go on the lam and somehow order a dust filter for his Hoover Max Extract Pressure Pro Model 60. It's all a bunch of mental gymnastics, and I don't like it. In order to better understand what's going on here, we first need to understand the context of the Voidway. The Voidway in the universe of Duck Season is a mysterious realm that holds something called void energy. It exists outside of time and space, but can somehow manipulate both. A handful of companies, including Saber Lake, Monogon, and Gammon, have all been able to tap into the Voidway and harness its energy. However, Monogon went a step further than everyone else and created Boneworks, which is a platform used to safely interact with the Void. Because of the strange properties of void energy, the games created by Monogon and Gammon aren't simple games. In fact, they aren't even VR games. When a user puts on a Monogon headset, they are transferred into the Voidway. Gammon, the creator of Duck Season and the console David plays it on, were somehow able to transport the players of Duck Season into the game through the console. This explains the odd dreamlike sequence we see in the middle of the game. It's likely a result of void energy bleeding into the real world and causing odd effects. The reason it can leak into the real world is likely because since Gammon is a rival company to Monogon, they don't have access to Boneworks, and Duck Season is built directly within the void. Time to talk about cryptids.
Okay, what? I'm sorry, what?
Now, cryptids are a known thing in the world of Duck Season. Some of the cryptids include this little monkey guy, a cat named Nine, and the dog himself. Cryptids originate from the void itself, presumably having taken over or even being built into assets from games created in the void. The cat, Nine, is a strange, ubiquitous figure that can be seen all over the world of Duck Season, as well as the other games from the developers. The same goes for the monkey. Now, after beating Duck Season, we get access to a book called the Kid Wizard Book. Throwing the book at certain objects results in some weird stuff. If you throw the Kid Wizard Book at this magazine, you get transported to this odd dimension where we have all sorts of tasks to complete. Upon doing so, it's revealed that we accidentally released Nine. His cute little paw prints lead to 3 doors labeled Boneworks, Machine King, and the door the paw prints went through, Dead FM. This has been largely theorized to be the next 3 games to be made by Stress Level 0, considering that the first door is Boneworks and the next game made by the devs was Boneworks. There are a lot of Easter eggs in this game, like an insane amount. If you throw the Kid Wizard Book at the cat clock, you'll be transported to whatever this is. If you move all the hands on the cat clocks to the correct position and convert the numbers into their corresponding letters in the alphabet,
oh god, why the realistic eyes? Why does the cat clock need realistic eyes?
you'll get the phrase, bad dad, bad kid. If you then throw the Kid Wizard Book at a toy flashlight, you'll be transported to a playground outside the house where there's a Ouija board. If you input the phrase, bad dad, bad kid, lightning will strike and you'll be transported to an area that congratulates you on banishing the cryptid. However, these words are coming from the monkey. This is important because if we use the Kid Wizard Book on the Lone Wolf action figure, then we can explore the house further and see a secret message in one of the rooms that goes as follows. Beware the monkey and cat tricksters. Greater dangers await you beyond this world. I will contact you again in the next game. Look out for my mark. There's also a paper on the floor in front of the fridge with a picture of a monkey on it that says, Don't believe his lies. So whatever the monkey is saying here, we know is not true. Behind the pedestal that the monkey sits on, we can find the Necronomicon. because apparently that's a thing in the game.
People are reading the Necronomicon. They can't do that.
If you throw the Necronomicon at the door, you'll be transported to another room with blood on the floor and the words, "See you next time." If we explore further around the house, we can find some odd things. There's a picture of the young boy and mother from the duck season commercial hung on the wall, which is pretty odd. We covered the picture of the baseball team earlier, however, if you look at it during the dream sequence, the dog mascot changes to be a little more recognizable. There's some family pictures, and then a picture of David's family in front of a house they had just bought in Amityville, which is a real-life location in which a man shot and killed 6 members of his family in their home, with no clear motive. Which is insane. If we look closer at the photo, we can see a familiar silhouette. If you use the Kid Wizard book on the computer, we get transported to this weird area that's been dubbed the White Library. Inside the library, there's all sorts of different game items and such strewn about. However, if we use the Kid Wizard book on the pumpkin on top of the TV, we get transported into a zombie survival game. If we survive long enough, we get beamed up by a UFO and then transported back into the living room, which is insane. After doing this, however, we get a new item, the cereal box. Across all these different Easter eggs, we can find a lot of these cards. If we collect them all, they will gather on the living room rug, and if we hit them against the cereal box, they will mark off different corners of the star. Then, we can mark off all these checkboxes by hitting all the game cartridges against the box. And finally, we need to hit the box with a banana to mark off the "What is my favorite food" box, which implies that the monkey is behind all of this. After all of this, the box will be struck with lightning, and if we hit the Necronomicon against the box, we will be transported to this room. In the room, we see teasers of what is presumably an upcoming game, Hall of the Machine King. And, in this weird orb thing, there's a clipboard with a conversation between 2 Monogon employees.
So this is how Gammon is accessing the Voidway. Seems kind of dangerous since they are securing pathways. Could lead to an actual material extraction.
No worse than us. At least they aren't piping the void directly into people's cerebral cortex.
This is in reference to Monogon using headsets to bring people into the Voidway. What they're discussing is the fact that Gammon is somehow dragging people into the Voidway through the game. They bring up the hazard of an actual material extraction. This, in fact, comes to fruition with a dog entering the real world and attacking David and his mother.
God, again, like, I remember thinking back, I remember the streams of Matt Pat playing and, you know, trying to get all the endings and eventually the theories coming afterwards. I don't remember any of this. This is all brand new to me. Like, I had heard, you know, of lore spanning across, like, game series and stuff like that, but this is nuts! God!
The dog is a sentient cryptid from the Voidway. It was somehow put into the Duck Season game, either willingly or not, and is now trapped in the game. It's able to access the real world and is somehow a mortal being, although surprisingly resilient. However, it's still tied to the game in some way. It's able to escape if it can find someone to trap in the game in its place, and we can read on a magazine that video game demons must abide by the rules of the game, which is why we're able to kill the dog with the zapper. But things aren't as simple as they seem, which is bad news, because nothing here seems simple. Alex from Stress Level 0 has provided this explanation on Duck Season. Duck Season is a parallel existence. In our universe, in real life, it's a VR game. In Boneworks, it's a simple flat game. In X's existence, it's a book. In Duck Season, it is a recursion bubble with branching timelines. What it is depends on what level of reality we are on. Of course, Duck Season's lore is still expanding, and we don't know everything yet. While there are a lot of theories, they all conflict with one another, and trying to decipher the meaning of all this is a massive headache. But I think that's kind of the point. Duck Season is clearly a game that isn't afraid to have oddities, and it seems like Stress Level 0 pride themselves in that. There are other games within the lore. Boneworks and Bone Lab both take place within the same universe, however, they don't even do a good job explaining themselves, let alone Duck Season. So for now, we can do 2 things. We can wait for more lore to come out and supposedly explain this story, or we can do the more logical thing and abandon logic. We can accept the fact that some stories just aren't meant to be understood. Am I coping with the fact that I can't come up with a cohesive explanation for this story?
Yeah. Yes, you are.
Thanks for watching. I'm gonna go hunt some ducks now.
God, that was absolutely nuts. I mean, again, as I said, I remember, you know, watching people play that game. I just didn't remember it being so nuts. Going on Stress Level 0, have they made anything new? So yeah, so there's Boneworks, Duck Season PC. What's What's the difference between Duck Season and Duck Season PC? Duck Season... Wait a second, VR only PC. Oh, okay, so that's the PC version, that's the non-VR version. Oh, okay. Like, I know, like, with my time, I spent a lot of time reacting to just the absurd depths of Deltarune and, like, Undertale and, you know, a couple of other games on this channel, for, like, Five Nights at Freddy's. You forget that other game developers are just as capable of going nuts with their game lore as, like, Toby Fox and Scott Cawthon. Oh, God, honestly, I mean, this was only a short video, but still, just absolutely nuts. And, like, again, like, just the fact that all of this is in, like, the Duck Hunt clone, and there's just so much depth with, like, alternate dimensions and the void and stuff like that. So, yeah, that's definitely going to be it for now. So, yeah, I hope you guys liked. If you did, leave a like, subscribe if you have not, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.